Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing great. In the last video, we discussed about Article 39A, that is Equal Justice and Free Legal Aid. In this video, we will be discussing about our next article, that is Article 40. Article 40 talks about organization of village panchayats. It says, the state shall take steps to organize village panchayats and endow them with such powers and authority as may be necessary to enable them to function as units of self-government. Before going deep into discussion, let me tell you that as per the categorization of articles of DPSP, this article comes under Gandhian Principle. Mahatma Gandhi used to say that the future of India lies in its village. In my opinion, what Gandhiji said was absolutely correct. We all are rooted from village. So the development of village is as important as that of cities. Coming back to our today's article, which talks about organization of village panchayats. First of all, try to understand that it is written organization, not establishment. This means that the panchayat system was already there in our country, whose organization or structuring or administration has been talked about in this article. It says, it is the duty of the state to organize village panchayats and provide them with such powers and authorities which is important for their self-government, which means there shall be such organization so the villages can work independently. This is what Article 40 says. In simple words, this article talks about the decentralization of powers. Now, what is decentralization? To understand this, we need to differentiate between centralization and decentralization. Centralization simply means giving power and control in one hand or with one person. The whole system will be controlled by one person. Every decision at every level will be taken by that one person only. Whereas decentralization means distributing power and control to several authorities at different levels, rather than one single person. So this is the difference between centralization and decentralization. The motive of adding this article, that is Article 40 into the Indian Constitution, is to decentralize the power or to provide separate power to village panchayats so that they can work independently and take decisions for their own affairs. As you can see here, it is written, endow them with such powers and authority as may be necessary to enable them to function as units of self-government. Mahatma Gandhi quoted Panchayati Raj as the foundation of India's political system, as Panchayati system is the oldest system of the local government of Indian subcontinents. And he gave idea of Gram Swaraj, which means village self-rule. Now let's see the evolution of Panchayat system after independence. While drafting Constitution of India, things related to Panchayat were placed in the non-justiciable part of the Indian Constitution, that is Directive Principles of State Policy, as Article 40. As we all know that Panchayat system was already there in our country. That's why in this article, organization of the same system in a better way was talked about. Panchayat system had to go through various stages. The very first thing initiated by the government was the first 5-year plan in the year 1952, named as Community Development Program, and the second 5-year plan in the year 1953, named as National Extensive Service. Both plans of the government failed to bring about active participation and involvement of the people and to achieve the goal of decentralization. After the failure of these two programs launched by the government, in the year 1957 January, the National Development Council appointed a committee called Balwant Rai Mehta Committee under chairmanship of Balwant Rai Mehta. The main purpose of constituting this committee was to review the reasons of the failure of the programs launched by the government previously, that is Community Development Program and the National Extensive Service, and also to recommend some measures for their better working. So Balwant Rai Mehta Committee reviewed the two programs and by November 1957 submitted its report to National Development Council. In January 1958, the recommendations were accepted by the National Development Council. Balwant Rai Mehta Committee was the first committee to use the term democratic decentralization. In simple words, democratic decentralization means transfer of powers and resources from higher to lower levels in our political system. Now, talking about the recommendations of Balwant Rai Mehta Committee, the very first recommendation was to establish 3-tier Panchayati Raj system, that is, Zilla Parishads at district level, Panchayat Samiti at block level, and Gram Panchayat at village level. The second recommendation was the village or Gram Panchayat should be constituted with directly elected representatives, whereas Panchayat Samiti and Zilla Parishad should be constituted with indirectly elected members. Third recommendation was all planning and developmental activities should be handed over to these bodies. The next recommendation was the Panchayat Samiti should be the executive body, while the Zilla Parishad should be the advisory, coordinating and supervisory body. The fifth recommendation was the district collector should be the chairman of the Zilla Parishad. Next recommendation was there should be a genuine transfer of power, responsibility and sufficient resources to these democratic bodies to enable them to perform their functions and fulfill their responsibilities. And the last recommendation was elections has to be constituted for every 5 years in a genuine way. So these were the recommendations given by Balwant Rai Mehta Committee. After that, in January 1958, the National Development Council accepted the recommendations and also mentioned that there will not be any hard and fast rule to follow the same structure given by Balwant Rai Mehta Committee. But fundamental principle will be same, that is to establish democratic decentralization. After that, many states started implementing Panchayati Raj system at their local level. The very first one was Nagaur district of Rajasthan, who adopted Panchayati Raj system in the year 1959. After Rajasthan, in the same year, Andhra Pradesh also adopted Panchayati Raj system, and later other states also followed them. all the states started working in their own way. Some adopted two-tier system, some adopted three-tier, and some adopted four-tier Panchayati Raj system. Basically, fundamental principle was same for all the states, that is to establish democratic decentralization. But their strategies were different. So some of the states were successful in implementing it and some were not. Different states faced different problems. The kind of development that was needed at grassroots level was not happening. So again, some committees were formed to review the problems which were coming in the existing Panchayati Raj system. Like Ashok Mehta committee appointed in the year 1977, GVK Rao committee appointed in the year 1985, Singhvi committee in the year 1986. So all the committees recommended different solutions. Like Ashok Mehta committee suggested two-tier Panchayati Raj system instead of three-tier. GVK Rao committee suggested to give more powers to Zilla Parishad. Singhvi committee suggested to give constitutional recognition to Panchayati Raj system. Like this, all committees recommended a lot of things. So after a lot of variations, finally Parliament passed 73rd Amendment Act of 1992. This act was passed because the earlier system was not proper, not well organized. As we all know that things related to panchayats has only been talked about in Article 40, and that too non-justiciable. So it became very necessary to give it a proper shape and mandate states to adopt Panchayati Raj system. So with this act, Panchayati Raj system came under the scope of justiciable part of the Indian Constitution. This act gave constitutional recognition to Panchayati Raj system and also gave certain powers to the state government to constitute Gram Panchayats at local level. Now let's see some important points and provisions related to 73rd Amendment Act of 1992. The very first important point is it added Part 9 to the Indian Constitution, which was titled as the Panchayats. This part contained articles from 243 to 243O. The second important point is it added new schedule to the Indian Constitution, that is 11th schedule. This schedule contained 29 functional units related to Panchayat. Talking about the important provisions of this act, it said there will be three-tier structure of Panchayati Raj institution, which was recommended by Balwant Rai Mehta committee. And what was that? Zilla Parishad at district level, Panchayat Samiti at block level, and Gram Panchayat at village level. Only this structure will be followed in every state. The next important provision was Gram Sabha. It said Gram Sabha is the primary body of Panchayati Raj system and will be responsible to perform the functions at village level. Next is election of members and chairperson. It said election of members at every level shall be done through direct election by the people, and the election of chairperson at district level and block level shall be done through indirect elections by the elected members of the Panchayat. Next is reservation of seats. It said there shall be reservation of seats at each level for SCs and STs according to the proportion of their population. and 1/3 of the total seats to be reserved for women. And also said 1/3 of the total seats for chairpersons at every level shall also be reserved for women. Next, it talked about tenure of Panchayat. It said, the duration of Panchayat at every level will be of 5 years. And if it gets dissolved before that, then there shall be election for new members within 6 months. And that new set of members would function till the remaining duration of the previous one. So these are the most important provisions of 73rd Amendment Act of 1992. Apart from this, a lot of things have also been mentioned in this act. But what I told you is the most important ones. The provision which you understood today, all are explained in articles of Part 9 from Article 243 to 243O. So when we will be doing Part 9 of the Indian Constitution, then we will understand it in detail. So that's all for today. If you have any question, do let me know in the comment section. In the next video, I'll come up with the next article, that is Article 41. Right to work, to education and to public assistance in certain cases. Till then, thank you so much for watching this video.